Oh, hello guys. Welcome back to Collateral Damage today. Ooh, whatever happened there. We are going to talk about the great Star Wars Outlaws because why can't we just do what people want? Seriously, I'm gonna sound like an ist in this one, but I don't care. So I I've looked into it actually a little bit just so I can know some information, and I'm sorry, but some things about it just don't seem right. Just don't seem right. But we're gonna get into it anyway because I like bursting people's bubbles and hating on people. I'm kidding, just well, just a little bit. But obviously, we're gonna talk about Star Wars Outlaws today, and I read Game Radar and IGN. I think I read both of those, and I will say, oh, give me 1 second, guys. Actually, sorry, my watch is dead. Live, we have so much to live for. But the big thing, I'm gonna get it out of the way. I'm gonna get it out of the way, guys. I'm gonna get it out of the way. The big thing about Star Wars that most people like is all of the different classes or things or people you could be if you chose to be so. And I think that's a very good way of putting it. Because a lot of people don't just want to be a Jedi; they want to be a bounty hunter as well, or they want to be a syndicate leader of some kind, or maybe like a Hut or a droid, or just they just. There's a lot of different options out there. Let me put it to you like this: just make Battlefield 2. Just take all of those classes, every single person you can play as, put them in this game as an option to play, but keep whatever mechanics of this game as it is, and then boom, you have the perfect game. And not even that. Now, those are just the classes. You can customize however you want, paint, whatever. Essentially, Anthem's type of customization with color, the customization of different outfits, maybe a little bit more like Battlefront 2. The amount of people from Battlefront 2, um, and then just a regular I'll just create your character as well inside there and put that in this, and then just keep everything else like the game I guess is supposed to be. You would have a perfect game. You would straight up have the perfect game, or at least the perfect open world Star Wars game. But you didn't do that. You did the one thing, and it's not even because it's a girl. It's because it's an outlaw. It's a scoundrel. Because that's what they call her, a scoundrel. I don't know, a heist. An outlaw. But the problem is she is not force sensitive. You cannot use the force in it. Okay, then no offense, but to like a majority of Star Wars fans, what's the point? If I can't shoot lightning out of my hands at anyone I see, like Darth Sidious, I don't want it. And now that's just me personally. That's just me personally. But there's also like 100 other abilities people have been shown to be able to use in Star Wars comics, movies, books, everything. So, with all of that knowledge and things you probably could have done, it's just one of my things of like, no, everyone asked for an open world Star Wars game. Everyone asked that. No one asked for it to actually be about like a Han Solo, like the daughter of Han Solo kind of shit. I don't know how to explain it. Just what do they call spiritual successor to Han Solo, or the Solo movie essentially, which I know that doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in my head, so don't ask. But it's just like no one asked for the outlaw aspect. Everyone asked for probably everything. They would like an outlaw if it was a choice. If it was like, oh, you can choose this class and then customize them later and do whatever you want with it, yes, that would be amazing. But then to be like, oh, it's open world, but you have a set character, you cannot change them, and sadly it's a female. I don't care if it's a female, but I will say there are not a lot of female led parties inside the Star Wars universe. Now there are some, don't get me wrong, Asajj Ventress, Lady, no, not Lady Teodelma. Ah, what's her name? Well, Queen Amidala. Asajj Ventress. What's her name? Madame Talia. You know who I'm talking about. Queen of the Night sisters. Mother Talzin. Mother Talzin. There's a bunch of people, but also funny thing is most of them were actually well, no. Queen Amidala wasn't force sensitive, but some of them were very powerful, but they were also force users. Now, like I said, I don't care if it's a female or a man, because honestly, what we wanted was just character creation. We could just choose who we wanted to be. That's the whole idea. Because it's Star Wars. You can do like 10 different routes of life and still end up in the same place doing very weird things. And I know I'm not really getting into this article, but it's because I can already tell you. Yes, the game might actually play very well. Don't get me wrong. But you can't play as Mace Windu and just scream out, "Damn, motherfucker!" You can't do that. You can't go around and be. You can't. Okay, no offense, was Knights of the Old Republic. We can't do that. We can't choose to be who we want, but just make it more modern open world and more modern mechanics and stuff like that. Just reinvent it in 2023. We can't do that. We have to. And no offense, but I'm not trying to be mean here, but I do feel like there is some sort of like agenda push here with the main character. I'm sorry, I do think there was, because I don't know. I don't see. It's not maybe they're just not as appealing. I don't know. Maybe they aren't, or maybe that we've just had so much feminism down our throats that we're just like we're done. We don't care. We don't care. Personally, that's me. I don't care anymore. I just want whoever you can pick. That's a good fit, but that's the thing. We didn't ask for it. Okay. Now, to be fair, let me get on to the more positive aspects. This one doesn't go into it very well. That release date and setting and all that. One thing about Twitter though, this is kind of wrong actually. Kotaku, shut up. He says Star Wars GTA. I mean, if you could, they said that there are going to be four main planets, possibly a fifth one, heavily implied. Someone said on Twitter. This 4 planets. I don't know who Rhino the Bouncer is, but fifth planet heavily implied. Each planet is the size of 2 to 3 areas, towns, cities, etc. within Assassin's Creed Odyssey World of Greece, which most of those areas are actually pretty big. So I won't lie, this will actually be a massive game. But so four times 2 is either 8 or 12. So there's either 8 or 12 or maybe 10 probably areas in total. Each planet is handcrafted rather than procedurally generated, which is great. I do like that. But again, I don't know. Something about that still is kind of like, we like open world, we do. You can't make the whole universe open world. We get that. But if you don't put enough good stuff inside those areas, then the open world aspect is kind of just redundant. We don't care about it anymore because it's just like, but also you made it open world, you made it story driven, which is great. But remember, KOTOR was story driven, and people love that. But you could have been a freaking robot. I'm pretty sure for if you wished. Maybe not. I can't remember. I never played. I just remember seeing it. Yeah, I don't think you could because you were a Jedi. I think you had to be force sensitive. Oh, who knows? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe I'm thinking of a different Star Wars game that's older than like that. But there are games out there from a long time ago where you didn't have to worry. Like you could be a droid. You could be Kashyyyk. You could have been what are the Maul? What are his people? Dathomirian. You could have been technically I don't really know what the humans are called on. Not Korriban. Coruscant. I guess they're humans. because they don't actually give. I think they do call them humans, but it's still the fact of like how far away in the genetic pool are we to where we're not even technically human anymore. That's such a long debate, but it's just one of those things of you could have done. I'm not trying to be negative, and I don't want this to be a negative review. I do think they apparently did add. They talked about she's going to be on a heist and stuff like that. Like, obviously, she's an outlaw. She's going to be on a heist, this or something. She's going to do something negative in the world, and not negative. It's just like she's going to do, what an outlaw does. Kay Vess. I mean, I think another reason why is because we're kind of sick and tired of the whole like outlaw, because we had Solo, we had Andor, maybe I don't know. I didn't watch Andor. We had Battlefront 2 with the pilot, but she ends up, going behind the backs of people, so she kind of becomes on the run too. Um, we did have uh, Jedi Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and the only reason why I appreciate that, I think another reason why is because he was also an outlaw for like 10 years or like 5 years. So it's one of those things of like we are kind of sick and tired of the outlaw. Just just give us a lightsaber, or or find us someone who how we just make one, and we're just like, all right, cool, let's just go beat up someone, and then you can make your choices of if you go Republican or if you go Separatist, or maybe older day, or maybe farther in the future, um, the Grand Empire versus the Resistance. Like you can just, it doesn't make sense of why people don't do what the people ask, what the fans ask. Because I promise you, no one was asking for a female. I'm not trying to be mean, but no one was asking for it. And not necessarily, but it's also the fact that she's not force sensitive. That's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people are kind of just mad. It's like she can't use a lightsaber, she can't use the force. Then what's the point? Blasters are great, but choking someone from 100 feet away, pulling them towards us, stabbing them, and then throwing them away, even better. I'm not trying to lie, but you already have a good blueprint to use on Jedi Survivor. You have a really good blueprint, not the best for open world. Like take the abilities and just drastically make more of them, but take some of the combat, just dump. It's just this. I don't know. I don't know what people want. I don't watch what people are looking forward to or looking for and stuff like that. But it's just there are so many things you could have done that could have appeased to a lot more people, because free will is the best thing for people. The free will of choice to choose, like, hey, you want to be this, this, and this, especially in Star Wars. If it was like, a story about New York, okay, then we get that. But it's Star Wars. You have so many options for the people to choose. And I know I have been ranting and rambling like an old man. I am. But it's... How? How do you do this? How do you come across Star Wars and you say, open... Okay, because I'm a big open world person, and my idea is this: if someone came up to me like, "Hey, let's make an open world game," oh, actually, I got a great idea: open world Warhammer 40k game. I would be like, all right, the first and most important things that you can choose from any faction and any legion or brotherhood sector, I guess, of the Astari. No, not the Astaris. I don't know what they're called. I guess battalion or bastion, whichever brotherhood you wish to be in. Whichever, if you want to be any of the aliens, if you want to be an orc, go for it. That would be, especially if they said, "Hey, let's make an open world game." That's what I would do. You tell them, "Hey, all right, you now have choice to be one of the many chapters of the Brotherhood of Steel, I think." And then you can be any of the aliens. You can be an orc. I think you can even be the technoids or necrotex. I can't remember, but they're like the green robot zombie things that are like near invincible. Or you can even be the dark the demonic eras. That's what you do in an open world. You don't go, all right, you're only gonna be Space Marine. and now open world, figure it out, or we're gonna just run you through. No, that you don't do that. Now that's just me. But I'm sorry, I wasn't actually gonna get into this article. It's just like trying to, because everyone's probably seen the gameplay footage or maybe a little bit. There was a speed run. There was like a speeder chase. There was a little bit of gunplay, which didn't look all too good. And the thing is, this was from what was it? Massive that made the Division 2, and I feel bad because I'm like, Division 2, there was so much you could have done with that and applied it here and made it so great. Now, to be fair, if they do add like a lot of the open world aspects of real time changes or real time activities that are especially that are constant and overall always like happening, there's no real good way of explaining it. Because in Division 2, the map, if you do something like take over a little area, a little fort to like or a safe area, if you take it over and then you leave for a while and you don't go and defend it again, it can be taken over from the enemy, stuff like that. And it is sometimes boring, but it is also nice to be like, hey, I actually gotta take care of some things. But also things always happened in the world at real time, constantly. Even though you were doing something else behind you was still happening, regardless. It was always happening. It was never like permanent takeover, which was great because it means always stuff. But just add that to this, and you would have made a beautiful. Now, one person did make a really good. The one article I was reading made a really good point of the dogfights and the space exploration kind of idea. Not really exploration, but the travel. That could be a really big area of like, you gotta be careful. If you're not careful, dogfights can either be too problematic because too many. I mean, the orientation of 360 by 360. What was that? 720. Yeah, so technically 720. The full. Yes. God, I'm trying to figure out what would that technically be. The degrees. I guess it would be 720 degrees because you cover all of it. But the idea that you can literally go any direction, any way, and then that direction is technically correct because you're in gravity or in space, becomes problematic, especially if you have too many enemies, if you don't make the mechanics well enough to work, if you make it maybe too hulky, like you're too heavy to really feel like you're able to get away. If you make it way too far, like it takes 10 minutes to go from here to another planet, well, obviously you're gonna have a problem. If you make a dogfight with, well, I would feel like you would obviously have to have rebels to help you to fight off a destroyer, stuff like that, because I don't think you could do. I guess you could try by yourself. You can definitely try, but trying and succeeding, two very different things. But that's my idea. The guy made a point of like, you got to be careful if you might make it look like either it's too difficult, not good enough space, combat, or you can make the traveling of hyperspace from one to the other kind of just like a loading screen, and that's not going to be really fun for people because people want to kind of have fun in space as well. Only problem with space is that it's fucking space that is occupied by planets. If it's not a planet or an asteroid field, it's pretty dull. In the sense of like, if you don't have like a nexus void around you or something, then alright, yeah, it's gonna be pretty dull. Regardless, guys, that's my little rant today. It's not the best explanation of how I feel about things. It's just my general 2 cents about the problem. I do think it looks like a good game. It does look looks good. It looks well. Obviously, main issues are there to stay because it's a set character, and I'm not happy about it. And the reason, like I said, I've explained before, but it's because it's such a not obvious choice. In this, especially if you explain, because like I said, someone says, hey, I want an open world game. I'm sorry, but the moment someone says that, I'm gonna be like, all right, let's figure out how many choices you can make about who you can play as to enjoy this world, especially if it comes to a universe this big. This universe has existed for almost 40, 50, I think longer than that, like almost 60, at least 60 years for Star Wars. I don't know, I'm not that old, but this universe has existed for 60 years in our minds. You have a lot of lore to use and a lot of people to choose from. Now, if it was like Evil Within, especially like the first one, that makes sense of why the second one kind of was like open world, but just with him, that makes sense. And maybe even some other side characters, that's fine. But if you go to Warhammer 40k and you tell me we can only use one person, I think everyone would get pissed. Especially if you said it was an open world game. Like if they made this, and if they said that this was a more linear game, I think they would have gone away with it. But when it comes to Star Wars, people do have a fantasy in their head of wanting to be a lightsaber dueling person that just, you either, want to protect society or you want to go around and make Darth Vader look PG. There are those kind of people in the world, and I'm sorry, I'm one of those people who want to make Darth Vader look PG. And if you don't understand what that means, remember, Darth Vader said in the comics he got used to the ability of killing children. So some people in the game want to make him look like a father figure. It's just one of those things of, we want to just have the ability to do whatever. Kind of like Saints Row, Saints Row 4 almost. Um, there's a bunch of games out. I can't remember. It's like Saints Row, Crackdown 3-ish. And when I say open world, it's like you have the ability to kind of just do whatever you want. Technically, GTA 5 is the closest. Technically, because you really are able to do almost anything. You have the consequences with it, but just make that, but more Star Wars. Either way, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion, guys. I hope y'all enjoy. I'll see y'all in the next one, alright? Peace.